At the National Center for Atmospheric Research, Williams pores through the NASA satellite data from that night and makes an important find not mentioned in the French reports.
And what you can see is that there's a small storm that, as they approached it, may have blocked their radar's view of a larger storm system, more hazardous storm system behind.
Williams' new theory: Flight 447's weather radar can't see through the smaller storm to detect the larger storm system building behind.
You could find yourself in a position with this absorption of the signal where you are almost into the storm before the signal strength actually reflects the reality.
This is crucial in understanding what happened to Flight 447. It's possible that by the time the pilots detect the now massive storm, they are already in it.
You have no option but to take the least worst exit.
The crew must ride it out. They face two potential threats. The first, lightning. On average, every airplane is struck once a year. But modern airliners are made of conductive materials that protect against even the most severe lightning, as seen in this incident captured on home video in Australia. Spectacular, but the lightning passes harmlessly through the outer skin. The plane landed safely, with no significant damage. The last confirmed commercial plane crash in the U.S. directly attributed to lightning occurred in 1967.
The thought that lightning could have a serious effect in the accident of Air France 447 is extraordinarily remote, and there's absolutely no evidence of it.
The second threat is more serious: turbulence. One cause is updrafts, rising pockets of air punching up through storms. The white areas on this map.
There's one here and one here, just off the flight track of Air France 447. Hitting an updraft would be like a jackhammer hitting you from below. It could really give the aircraft a...
As Flight 447 heads for turbulence, the automatic systems should keep everything under control. The pilot's next move would be standard procedure. Anticipating turbulence, he would ask the passengers to fasten seatbelts. Then, as a safety measure, he would dial in a slightly lower speed to reduce the stresses on the aircraft. An automatic system called auto thrust takes over.
The auto thrust would reduce the power on the engines to slow down towards your target speed.
Everything happens automatically. The pilot's manual thrust levers don't move. As turbulence hits, sudden updrafts throw the aircraft up and down. But the flight computer changes pitch and engine power to compensate, keeping the aircraft at a safe speed. All the pilots have to do is monitor the instruments.
The systems automatically will tell you if they get out of limits, but you could be looking at the systems from time to time just to check that they are well inside limits.
The team has traced Flight 447's progress to its last known position. The next clue comes from the official French report, and it reveals what happened next in chilling detail. As the aircraft is navigating through the storm at 2:10 a.m., the flight computer sends a flurry of fault messages to Air France headquarters in Paris.
We were fortunate that the aircraft, being one of the most modern, has a maintenance feature that automatically reports system anomalies. and it does it through a data link system called ACARS.
Normally, these ACARS messages are designed for basic aircraft maintenance, so ground crews can fix minor faults quickly when the aircraft is on the ground.
In simplistic terms, it's almost like SMS texting for aeroplanes. It's a way of sending simple text messages or numerical messages from the aircraft to the ground and back again. And it's used to send some very basic information.
Airline crews on the ground don't usually monitor the data in real time. Often, the messages are downloaded just prior to the aircraft's arrival. But now, Flight 447's ACARS system messages reveal an incredible chain of events.
It really is the last will and testament of the aircraft.
Flight 447 suffers 24 critical faults in just 4 minutes and 16 seconds.
You can just see an aircraft almost dying in front of you.
Tony Cable decodes the data to reconstruct events second by second. The first one appears at 2:10 a.m. and 10 seconds.
The first ACARS message that appears is autopilot off, and that indicates that the autopilot has disengaged on its own. There is a master audio warning, which is a real attention getter.
With the autopilot off, the pilot must take manual control of the plane. 13 seconds later, another critical message. Flight control alternate law. This means that the automated system, which prevents pilots from making unsafe maneuvers, switches off. 24 seconds later, another alarm. Auto thrust off.
It means that the system that normally automatically controls engine thrust to maintain airspeed and altitude is no longer working.
The aircraft's automatic safety systems are shutting down, one by one.
It must have been a very busy and confusing situation on the flight deck.
Finally, at 2:14 and 26 seconds, just 4 minutes after the problems began, one final ominous message appears.
The advisory cabin vertical speed message means that the pressurized cabin is descending at a high rate. In other words, the aircraft is descending at a high rate.
Seconds later, Flight 447 crashes into the Atlantic. What could cause such a cascade of system failures?
The reason for the autopilot kicking out is something that clearly needs to be established.
Tony Cable scans the ACARS data in search of the root cause. And he believes that all the failures can be traced back to just one of the 24 fault messages. This one message suggests that the computer lost the ability to calculate its airspeed.
The loss of airspeed information, potentially very, very serious.
Without this, the automatic flight controls can't function, so the system shuts down. To find out why, the team turns their attention to the equipment that measures airspeed. All airliners measure airspeed using pitot probes. Forward-facing hollow tubes of metal just below the cockpit. Automated flight controls can't operate without accurate airspeed data. So the A330 has 3 pitots to provide backup. But on Flight 447, the fault message suggests major pitot problems.